All right, if you've been running into roadblocks and plateaus with your training and you're not getting stronger and not building muscle, I'm going to explain to you the most common reason. It's usually not recovery. It's usually not nutrition. It's usually because you're not training hard enough. It's because you aren't doing the right exercises for you. Now, this is one of the limitations of generic training programs, is that program doesn't know how your body moves. It doesn't know what your limb lengths are. It doesn't know where your weaknesses and imbalances are. And so you're going to run into those roadblocks a whole lot faster than if we can dial in exactly what you need every single week. So with my athletes, I'm doing an in-depth analysis of their training videos to make sure we're doing the right exercises with the right weights and the right assistance exercises to bring up lagging muscle groups so that we don't run into plateaus. Now let me show you guys exactly how I do it. All right, so here's an example of one of my clients' deadlifts, okay? And I'm gonna show you guys a couple of his reps. This is a 5-rep max that we worked up to. And then I'm gonna tell you what I see about this and how we're gonna fix it. All right, so as you can see, the first thing that happens, even before the bar leaves the ground, is his hips come up. So his hips are shooting up prematurely. The reason that this is happening is because his setup position isn't tight. His hamstrings are actually not under tension in this bottom position. He has his knees shoved forward. You can see that they are pitched forward over the bar. And so for that bar to leave the ground, his hips have to shoot up to kind of snap the hamstrings into tension. The problem with that is now when we do that, now we're unloading the quads completely, loading the hamstrings, and now we're extending the knees too soon, and now we're super far leaned over the bar. And now the only things that are moving this bar are the hamstrings and the low back. Now, obviously, we want to train the hamstrings. We do want to train the low back. We don't want no resistance on the low back. However, we also want some of these other primary movers in the deadlift to be helping us with the movement, right? We want the quads firing and we want the glutes firing, but the quads and the glutes aren't firing here because this athlete is so leaned over the bar and his legs are straightening a little bit too quickly. So how do we fix this problem? Well, the first thing that I would tell this guy to do is to fix his setup position. So what I would tell him is, at the start of the exercise, I want you to look down at your knees. And if you see your knees in front of the bar, I want you to pull your knees back and roll the bar back into your shins until your knees are vertical. Because if you look, the bar actually doesn't even leave the ground until his shins are vertical and his knees are behind the bar. So that's actually the position that we want to start in. This way we don't have this big kind of jolt that then kicks him out of position and causes the knees to extend prematurely. Okay, so a lot of this is going to be fixed by the setup position. The other thing I'm going to have this athlete do is he's going to start this training session with Bulgarian split squats. Why Bulgarian split squats? There's two reasons. One, because he's at a home gym and this is something that is accessible to him. But the reason we're choosing that exercise is because that is going to turn on the quads and turn on the glutes so that now those muscles are firing before we even start our deadlift setup. And what he'll notice is that he's going to feel the difference when he's warming up. He's going to notice that his hips stay down longer. He's feeling his quads and glutes engaged in the movement because we're priming them for the exercise. Later on in the training session, or maybe in another training session throughout the week, I'm going to have this athlete do heavier, more difficult Bulgarian split squats to actually build up the quads and build up the glutes. So the first part of the workout is going to be light, right? We're just going to be priming the movement. Maybe we'll even do it kind of explosively. But later on in the week, or maybe later on in this session, depending on where it fits in, I'm going to give him heavy, taxing Bulgarian split squats so we can build up that musculature and make those quads and glutes stronger. So what's the cost of doing a generic program with generic exercises? Well, the cost is that now we're going to plateau a whole lot sooner, and we're not going to know why. You're going to think that it's because of your recovery or because you're not training hard enough or something like that. But the problem is actually just that we're not executing the movement correctly, and we haven't been executing the right assistance exercises to build up the muscle groups that are holding us back. So in the end, it is incredibly important that I'm able to see what my clients are doing to make sure that we're doing the right exercises with the right weights at the right time. This is how we prevent plateaus, get stronger, faster, and more jacked in less time.